All right, guys, welcome to part 2 of your Success Skills Week 9 lesson here. Now I just want to go ahead and open up the other document. So we're looking at EMP-B-2. It was the document that looks like this. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Looks like this. So here you guys can see we are now managing inventory. And so there's a couple different things I want to show you guys on this one as well. So either, again, just like we did on the first video, you guys maybe have my video that I'm showing you guys here just a little bit more minimized, and maybe you guys are looking at the video as you guys are editing the document. If that's the case, perfect. If not, if you're pausing me along the way, but this is what the video or what the screen should look like. So again, here's the idea. As you guys can see, we're looking at another spreadsheet, so you can see the same ribbon up at the top. Very similar to Word, a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities as well. And again, Excel is a spreadsheet, so we are looking at dealing with lots of numbers. So here are the things we want to take a look at today. So just to give you guys an idea of the document that we're looking at here, we are obviously responsible for inventory at the medical supply company. In our company, we have, and it says in cases, so we have just a lot of cases in different storage units. We have 5 different storage units, and it looks like at each of the storage units we have so many cases of O2 masks, O2 tubes, syringes, and gowns. So what I want to show you guys today is a couple different things that Excel already has stored that Excel can do for us. In the previous video, we did a lot with creating our own formulas where we typed the equal sign and then we just typed in the formula ourselves or clicked on the cells that we wanted to make part of the formula. Well, here, what we want to take a look at is some things that are already stored on Excel for us that already does all these different functions for us. So what I want to show you guys, or you can see what we're going to look at here. We're going to take a total of how many total O2 mask cases we have, and then we also have the word total over here because we're totaling up how many total cases we have in each storage unit. So let's go ahead and do that first. So let's either one. I mean, let's go ahead and start with the total number of cases we have in storage 1. So let me show you this. So if you all would go ahead and click on cell F4. Click on cell F4, and what we're going to take a look at here is we're going to total up all of these numbers here. How we're going to do that, Excel already has has formulas stored for us. So what we could do, yes, is we could click the equal sign and click, okay, B4 plus B, or C4 plus D4 plus E4. Instead, Excel has this already created for us. So I want you guys to go over to the right-hand corner of your ribbon, and you'll see here there's a button called Auto Sum. If you just don't worry about the drop-down menu, we'll get to that here in just a minute, but I want you to just click right on that Auto Sum button. Auto Sum is exactly what that name implies. It is automatically calculating a sum for us. And again, Excel, as we talked about in the previous video, Excel recognizes locations of things. So it looks around to see, okay, where are there some numbers nearby, and what could she, or he or she, whoever's using this computer, it is a computer, what could they want to add together? And it does recognize that there are some numbers to the left. And so it says we must want to add together, and you can see based on that formula there that it says that you must want to find the sum. See how it puts the equal sign already there for us to tell Excel that this is a math problem. You must want to find the sum of the range of cells between B4 and E4. And actually, this is correct. Not always will it be correct, but you notice that it does put that scrolling marquee around those 4 boxes to say, is this right? And then we need to just tell it that it is right. And we can do that by just hitting the Enter key on our keyboard or Enter on the formula bar. Again, either one will produce the same result, and it does just total that up for us. So it should see that we have a total of 207 cases in storage 1. Okay, once again, we are going to go ahead and use our autofill handle. Don't forget, that is just simply moving your mouse to the bottom right-hand corner of that cell, so to the bottom right-hand corner of cell F4. Right now, we are in that box that says 207, and I am going to click and drag that down to F8, and then let go. And there again, it's going to recognize, based on location, it copied the formula to each of those boxes. All right, so we should have 177 total boxes in storage 2, 156 in storage 3, 177 in storage 4, and 144 in storage 5. All right, now we want to take a look at adding the total together of how many of each supply that we have. So I want to know how many boxes we have just of the O2 masks, how many boxes we have of the O2 tubes, and so on. So let's go ahead and use our auto sum button again. So go ahead and click directly on the auto sum button, and you should see that it gives us a scrolling marquee. It looks, again, it's looking around for different numbers, and the only numbers that it can find are the ones that are above. And it guessed correctly, so we can go ahead and hit enter, and that means we have a total of 177 total boxes of O2 masks. Autofill works when we take it, when we drag it side to side as well. So click back on B9 if you were not currently in B9. And let's use our autofill handle. So click down to the bottom, or move your mouse down to the bottom right of cell B9, and then click and hold and drag that over, and go ahead and stop at E9. So we're only going to those 4. We only have 4 supplies. We don't need to find the total of the total. That would seem irrelevant. So we don't need to do that. I mean, I guess we could, because it would tell us exactly how many total boxes we have, I guess. But we're going to go ahead and just leave that out. All right, so that tells us we have our complete totals for each of our supplies. So there's our O2 tubes at 243, syringes at 250, and then gowns at 185. Okay, so as the manager of our inventory department, let's say by chance we just need to, in order to make sure that we're maintaining a steady supply of things, perhaps we need to know when these totals reach a 30% drop, meaning when those numbers right now, this is where they are, but I need to know what they would be if we dropped by 30%. That would maybe tell me when it's time to order more supplies. So what we're going to do here in cell B11 is we're going to calculate a 30% drop. So again, I might be a little math teacher here, and I might tell you guys what I mean by this formula, but let me tell you exactly how to type this in first. Go ahead and click the equal sign, or type the equal sign just like we did before. Then click on cell B9, that's the total of our O2 masks. And then hit minus, so the subtract key on your keyboard. And then we are going to open parentheses, click B9 again, times 0.3, and then close parentheses. So what we have right now is when we're trying to calculate 30% of anything, you can multiply that number by 0.3, and that would tell you what 30% of that number is. I want to know what happens if that number drops by 30%. So meaning if 177 goes down by 30%, well, I first have to figure out, well, 30%, what is 30% of 177? And then subtract, that full number, subtract that number, and that would tell you what happens if it ever drops by 30%. So that's what we're showing here, is we're showing that B9 minus 30% of B9. And that would tell us what happens if it drops. So let's hit equals, and it should give us 123.90, 123.9, I should say. It's not a price, but that would maybe be my signal if, say, per chance, I'm watching the inventory, I'm totaling up the cases. If I realize our total of O2 masks has gotten to 123, then that means it's gone down by 30%, and that means it's time for me to order again. That's just maybe my way of managing the inventory department. So that's what we're showing here. So let's go ahead and use our autofill handle, and let's drag that over to, once again, cell E9, just to show 30%, what that would look like if each of our total supplies drops by 30%. And don't forget, it recognizes the location, so I'm just double clicking in E11 just to show you guys that the formula that copied from cell B11 Now copying over to E11 will then be, you know, the total minus 30% of that total. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna get out of edit mode. I'm gonna take you down here. Go down, now go ahead and click to cell B13. All right, clicking on cell B13, you can see what we're trying to find here. In this case, we're looking for the average. The average, please excuse my dog who is scratching right now. I have lots of dogs, so I'm sorry. I'm at home right now, guys, and this is the only time I could find a chance to create these videos. So you might hear my dogs wrestling in the background, they seem to not want to ever be quiet when I'm trying to record videos at home. That's why I usually do them in my office. Two of them are being good right now, of the three. Okay, go lay down. Okay, so what I want to show you guys here in this section, we're trying to find the average. The average is actually something that is a very common calculation. So what we can do is, again, this is one of those just like the total that's already stored for us. So what we can do, so just if you've clicked already in cell B13, I want you guys to now go up to where we were with the auto sum button, but instead click the drop down arrow that's right next to the auto sum button. And you should get a couple things. What you're seeing here on that drop down menu is your most commonly used functions. And those are some things that are just normally done on Excel, or what Excel is used for. And you'll notice that one of those is the average. Go ahead and click average. Here is a great example of where Excel tries to guess for you. It tries to look around and say, okay, there's some numbers up above. You know, I'm looking to the left, to the right, and I'm seeing some numbers up above. However, I don't want it to find the average of that 30% drop that we just totaled. I want it to find the average of all of our supplies. So while Excel has this scrolling marquee going around that box, we can instead change that. So all you need to do right now is click on cell B4 and hold your mouse and click and go down, or so not click again, but hold your mouse and drag it down to cell B8. Stop. Sorry. So click and go down to B8. So what you can see now, all we've done is change what we've changed the range. It only guessed, okay, do you want to find the average of B11 through B12? And that was wrong. So we instead just clicked and selected the range B4 through B8. Be careful not to go down all the way to B9. We don't need to include the total. We're just trying to find the number of supplies. And so there you can see in your formula, and in the formula bar, it should just say =, average, and then in parentheses it shows the range B4 through B8, and that is correct. So we can go ahead and hit equal now. And that will then tell us the average number of supplies we have across our storage units. So across all of our storage units, we have an average of about 35 O2 mask cases across our 5 different storage units. So we can go ahead and use the autofill handle here. So just click and drag that over to cell E13. Again, we're just stopping at the gallons. We don't need to find the average of the total. So let's go ahead and do that. And when we release, we see that we have these numbers right here. Okay. Another commonly stored function is the maximum, but I want to show you a different way that sometimes we can find functions without having to use the auto sum drop-down menu. What you could do is you can click the =, and what you can do, anything, whenever you click the =, or type the =, I should say, anything you type at this point must be a mathematical equation. So by typing that =, you're telling Excel that I want to do some math. So anything I type at this point, so go ahead and type in the letters M-A. You should see, and even when you just typed the letter M, you should see what's coming up now is a list of commonly used functions that start with that letter M. When you type in A, now it's going to help to narrow it down to just everything that starts with MA. And there, the second one down, you can see is the max. So go ahead and double click on that. And now what it does is it puts that there for us, and it opens a parentheses saying, okay, well, what do you want to find the maximum of? And we want to go ahead and select that same range again. So B4 down to B8. Once you let go, you see it does put that scrolling marquee around it to say, okay, are you sure? Is this it? And that is correct. So we can go ahead and hit enter. And that does exactly that. It finds which storage unit has our maximum number, and it looks like it found 57, which looks like it's in storage 1. Without using our autofill handle, we're actually going to do the exact same thing here to the minimum, and then I'll show you guys how you can use the autofill handle for 2 rows at once. So let's do the same thing we just did for the max. Go ahead and type the equal sign and type in the letter M, I, and there you can see the second one from the top is min, not to be confused with minute, which is also down there, but min, M-I-N. Go ahead and double click that. And then once again, it opens the range for us, and we want to go ahead and tell it the same range. So select B4 and then click and scroll down to B8. Once you let go, it's got that range there for us. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter. And it found for us the number 23, which happens to be in storage 4. Now, what I want to show you guys is how you can use the fill handle, and you can use the fill handle not just one row at a time. It actually recognizes based on the row that you're in what you wanted to copy. So I want you guys to just select the range B14 through B15, and then let go, and you can see all we've done is selected that range right now. With that range selected, go ahead and move down to the autofill handle. So just hover your mouse over top of the bottom right-hand corner of that 2-box selection. And then let's click and drag and go all the way over to E14 and 15 and let go. And what it does is, again, it recognizes that relative location. So it recognized that the formula that you wanted in row 14 was the maximum, and the formula that you wanted in row 15 was the minimum. So it copies that, and it recognizes based on the row that you're in what you want to copy. So it's really, really helpful. Okay. The last type of mathematical equation that I'm going to have you guys do on these documents is there in that what if column. Clicking in cell H4. So the best way to describe, I think, what's happening here in this column is that, let's say our inventory, you know, we've got a certain number, we've got a total number of cases in each of our storage units, and say as the person who manages inventory, let's say I want to see what that would be like if we increased our inventory by 10%. So the mathematical equation that we can use here is going to also incorporate this 1.1 right here, because 1.1 as a percent is 110%. So if we ever wanted to show that something went up by 110%, we can just multiply it by 1.1, and it would tell us that it went up by 10%, not really 110%. But so let me show you what that would entail. What we can do is we can type the equal sign, click cell F4 times now H1. So your formula right now should say F4 times H1, which means that that formula multiplying 207 by 1.1 will show me what happens, what that number would look like if that total went up by 10%. So let's hit equal, or enter, I'm sorry. So if that were to go up, if that total were to go up by 10%, that's what would come out. But I want to show you guys something on this. So let's click back into H4, and let's use our autofill handle. Click and drag down to now H8 and let go. Here, you may have run into a couple of different issues here. So we're seeing a 0 here in this box. We're seeing this weird, you know, value thing, and then we're seeing a 0 down here, and then some gigantic number down here that can't be right. 10%, you know, an increase of 10% of 177 is not 40,302. This is wrong. remember, earlier I had talked to you guys about, and this is not going to show up on your final. I just always thought that this was something that was pretty interesting about Excel, that Excel is based on relative location. So the relative cell location means that what we just did, and I'm going to double click on this just to show you guys this. What we did, and you guys will eventually have to do this, but I'll show you that. Remember, Excel recognizes locations of cells in a formula. Excel recognized that in H4, where this formula is, I wanted to take the two cells that were, or the cell, I'm sorry, that was 2 to the left and multiply it by the cell that was 3 above. When I copied that formula now to this cell, it did exactly that. It multiplied the two numbers, the one that was 2 cells to the left, okay, 171, and multiplied it by the cell that was 3 cells up. Well, there's nothing there. So that's why we produced 0. Here, it multiplied 2 cells to the left, okay, 156, and it multiplied it by 3 cells up, which is text that says, what if? That's not right. So what we can do, if we ever wanted to in a formula, so go ahead and click back into cell H4 if you're not already there, and I actually want you guys to double click that. And make sure your mouse is somewhere, it really should be between the H and the 1. I think it would work if it was behind the H and the 1, but let's put your cursor between the H and the 1. What you guys can do if you ever wanted to hold on to part of an equation, I want you guys to, on your keyboard, click the F4 button on your keyboard. And you'll notice what it does is it puts a $sign in front of the H and a $sign in front of the 1, which means that in this particular formula, I don't want to just multiply by H1. Anytime I copy this formula, I always want it to hold on to H1. So that when I copy this formula, the first number that's part of the formula is the one that's 2 cells to the left, but the second one will always be H1. So let's hit enter. When I hit enter, it's still going to produce the same value because that one was correct. But let's use our autofill handle now. So let's click down to the bottom of H4, click and drag, and when we let go, oh, yeah, this isn't right. Why didn't it copy that? Oh, I'll let go too soon. There it goes. So click and drag. So we used our autofill handle and we clicked and we drug down to cell H8. I accidentally let go and it messed it up. So here are the numbers that you should see now. And that's because, and I'm just going to double click in this bottom one down here, you can see that's exactly what it does. Here it's multiplying the one that's 2 cells to the left, which is, okay, there's a number right there. And it will always, by using the $signs, it will hold on to that H1. That, in opposed to relative cell value, that one is actually called absolute cell value, and that it's always going to hang on to that number by using the $signs. So again, that's not something that's going to be on the final, so you guys don't have to worry about that, but just something that was always pretty interesting and something that, again, should you ever need to copy a formula, remember Excel always recognizes locations of things. So if you ever wanted to hang on to a particular location, that's how you can do that. Okay, guys, let's make this again just to make sure we are pretty familiar with some of these other things. I want you guys to, if you click on cell A1, you notice that A1 is where the words medical supply company are written, but in cell B1, there's nothing in the formula bar. So once again, we're seeing where the title of our document is only written in one cell, and then it's kind of hanging over into a couple different cells. So let's use our merge and center button so that we can make that fit. So I want to click and drag, not using the fill handle, using the white plus sign cursor. I want to click and select cells A1 through E1. And then let's once again use our merge and center button just so it can do exactly that. And we can put that between, A and E, and that becomes one cell. And therefore that makes it that title. Another thing I want to show you guys on Excel that we haven't really had a chance to do yet is resizing columns. What you could do, if you ever wanted to, you could always resize columns by moving your mouse between the different column names, so between B and C, between C and D. You notice that your cursor will change to that line with two arrows on either side, and you could always then click and hold and then drag that over, and that helps to resize your different columns should you ever need to do that. In this particular document, we really don't need to, because everything fits pretty well in each of the columns. But if for any reason you had a situation like this, where see if I had, between A and B, if my column was too small, I can always resize columns by just clicking and dragging over to make sure that I fit everything, all the text into that column. A quicker way that you could do that, you could use what's called Autofit, which means in the event that maybe you have something like this. So I've just clicked, between B and C, or I'm sorry, A and B, and drug that over just for the purpose of showing you guys this. Again, this is not something that you guys have to do, but it is something that's good to know when you're working with an Excel document. What Autofit does, what I mean by that, if you hover your mouse between A and B, if you just double click at that point, what it does is it's automatically going to fit. In this case, it fit because our inventory, comma, in cases actually is only in cell A2. What that means, what I mean by auto fit, is it is automatically going to fit the text that's in that column. So meaning that the longest word, or the longest set of words in that column, is going to fit perfectly in that column. And so inventory in cases was the longest thing in that column. So when I double clicked, it made sure that that text fit into that column. And that's why the rest of the column is pretty big. And you can see there's a little bit of space between all of our different storage units here. But that's what Autofit does. So if you ever wanted to make sure that everything fit in that column, especially if you had a really big Excel spreadsheet and you wanted to make sure, maybe you didn't feel like scrolling down to see as I'm clicking and dragging that column over, and maybe you can't see the stuff at the bottom, you could always double click and it's going to make sure that automatically whatever the biggest text is in that particular column will automatically fit. So to resize, if I wanted to auto fit column B, I would have to go between B and C and double click, and that would make sure of that. And same thing between C and D to resize column C, and so on. So you guys don't have to do that, but it is really helpful to see how to do that. And you guys don't have to do this either, but I wanted to show you guys this while we're working with it. If you ever wanted to present information to, say, like, just let's say by chance, since I'm the manager of the inventory department, I'm trying to maybe showcase to my employees, here's what this looks like, here's what this would, so maybe I wanted to, showcase this, what if scenario, what if we increased our supplies, in our storage units by 10%? Maybe I needed to show them that. Numbers are kind of boring, so when you're looking at that, I go, oh, okay, well, that's cool, yeah. But if I went to insert, let's say I wanted to show them this, I could select this text, and maybe I wanted to show them, what this could look like in terms of maybe a column chart or something, and maybe show them. Then I could show what that would look like in terms of growth, maybe, and that's what's cool about Excel. And that's maybe not as impressive, but I can show them, our supplies, and what these supply accounts look like. I could always select that text, click insert, click the particular type of graph that I want to show them. I use that 3D column, and here you can see all your different supplies. It color coordinates everything for me. I can edit by, again, once I have a table selected or a chart selected, these different tabs show up to where I can edit them. I can adjust the titles for these. I can change the layout and the format, and it makes, it just makes it to where it's a little bit better to present, because, here we can actually see you know, I actually have number 6 is actually the totals, but I can change these numbers, you know, to show this is storage 1, here's storage 2, here's storage 3, here's what everything looks like. And then maybe in a meeting, you know, we could see that we have a whole lot more O2 tubes in storage 4 than we do in any of our storage units. So we could say, hey, why aren't we moving some of our O2 tubes to storage 5? You know, there's hardly anything there, and it just is more clear. So anyway, so I just wanted to show you guys that. I'm actually going to delete that to show you just how Excel will automatically do some things for us and make it tremendously easier to work with. I think there was one other thing I wanted to show you. Oh, I did want to show you guys, let's say, okay, I want to real quickly show you this because this will come up on the final. It won't be something that you have to do on the final. It's just something that will show up on the final, and I'll show you what I mean. I want to show you guys how to use what's called conditional formatting, which is this right here, this tool. I want you guys to just select, let's just say the total of, so F4 through F4 through F8. With that column selected, just those numbers, I want you guys to hit conditional formatting. I want you to hover over where it says highlight cell rules, and then hover over greater than and click that. And I want you to format cells where it has that 175.5 selected. I want you to type in 200. And you can see what this is going to end up doing, and then you can have it show up however you want. But this says with light red fill with dark red text, which means that any value in this column that we selected, if it's greater than 200, it's going to highlight that for us. And so now what happens when you hit OK is anything that's greater than that value will show up a little bit darker for us. So if by chance, as the manager of the inventory, as I'm keying these in throughout the quarter, and maybe I don't want that total in each storage unit, I can't go past quit. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I really would edit this and I'd re-record this, but I can't. So anyway, so say I wanted it to show me if something ever went over 200, because maybe our storage units get too packed when it goes over 200, and so that would be way too many. So I need to start moving some things around, because then if say maybe we ordered, we've got, I'm going to click on cell B7 just to show you that maybe that went up. At storage 4, I ordered a whole lot more O2 masks, and I now have 50 cases of O2 masks in storage 4. When I hit enter, now my total goes up to 204, and that's going to automatically highlight for me and show me that storage 4 has gone over 200 as well, and so that's a problem. So it's really interesting. So what's going to happen is I've already got something formatted for you guys on the final to highlight something for you, so you'll see it show up in red, and you'll see that just show up. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. That is it. I want you guys to go ahead and just save that. I think my dogs are getting ready to start fighting, so I'm so sorry, but I really just don't have the time to re-record this video. So we're going to end it here. You guys can go ahead and just save that document, and you guys can email me, email me. Stop. I'm so sorry. I'm ending this here, I promise. You guys go ahead and send me those documents. If you guys have any questions, I am available all week, and then I'll be available on the weekend too. So just email me, and I will see you guys soon. I'm so sorry. Let me know if you guys have any questions.